Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where we're working together through the ABRSM Theory Grades. There are lots of resources available to help you if you visit my website. If you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find some free PDF information sheets. You can download those in US letter or A4 and they accompany each step of this series. There's also a page with links to all of my YouTube video tutorials, and you can access information about the books that I have available. I've written an exam technique guide, how to take your ABRSM Music Theory Exam. It's full of tips and techniques on how to best prepare for your exam, and also how to make the best use of your time on exam day when you're working through your exam paper. So if you go to sharonbill.com, you'll find it all there. If you can give me a like, that'd be really fab, and subscribe to my channel to keep updated. And now we're going to make a start on the last paper in the booklet of the 2015 Grade 1 past papers. So if you turn with me to page 13, and we'll have a look at paper S. Now this was never actually sat as an actual exam. This is just included at the end of the booklet to give you an extra paper to work through. This is just a specimen paper. And of course, since 2015, in fact, since 2018 now, the exam syllabus has changed in the way that the exam paper is presented, but it's certainly still a really valuable exercise to work through all of these past papers as revision. There's lots of revision available to you in these past paper booklets, and so I hope that you've had a go of this yourself. I always suggest that you do. It doesn't matter if you go wrong, it's always better to learn by your mistakes. Always work in pencil. I use a mechanical pencil just so it stays sharp. Make sure you've got an eraser to hand, and then you can just rub out if you go wrong. And you will also need a ruler throughout the paper at some point. So let's have a look at this together now. So question 1 asks us to add the time signature to each of these 3 melodies. So there are going to be 3 separate time signatures. So don't throw away any marks just by missing and presuming it's all one. So we know that we're going to be counting in crotchet beats in grade 1. All of the bottom number of the time signatures will be 4. We're counting in quarter notes or crotchet beats. So we just need to figure out how many quarter notes or crotchet beats per bar. Now we've got lots of bars we could choose, but this is the easiest one that gives us the answer straight away. We know that there are 4 beats in a bar. So you could write 4/4, or alternatively you could do the common time symbol, which also means 4/4. By all means, if you want to check that in the other bars, we've got a 1 beat here, a 1 beat here, 2 half a beat make 1, 2 half a beat make 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Half plus half is 1. Half plus half makes another 1. Half plus half makes another 1. There's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got 1, 2, and 2 beats there, 3, 4. But that gives us the answer straight away, and then that's the job done. Let's look at the next one. So again, we're counting in quarter notes or crotchet beats. And again, if you glance to the end, we've got 1 note here. That's a 2-beat note with a dot. A dot after it makes it half as long again. So 2 plus half of 2, which is 1, equals 3. We know that there are 3 beats in a bar. Alternatively, you can see you've got a 2-beat here, a 1 beat here, that's 3. 2 beat here, 1 beat here, that's 3. Here we've got 1 beat with a dot. Half of 1 again is a half a beat. So that's with 1.5 beats. There's a half a beat, so that gives us 2. 2 halves gives another 1. There's that 3. So this is probably the most complicated bar, so I wouldn't have referred to this bar straight away. I'd have got the answer from this one or this one. And you could ignore these really, but we're just being extra thorough. We've got a 1 beat here, we've got a 1.5 and a half. So 1.5 plus half is 2, plus another 1 is 3. So there you can see 3 beats, but we get it super quick in these outside bars. Let's have a look at the next one. So this first bar tells us straight away we've got a 2-beat note, so we're counting 2 quarter notes or 2 crotchet beats per bar. This last bar tells us straight away as well. Here we've got 3/4 of a beat and a quarter, which adds up to 1, and we've got 4/4 of a beat, which add up to 1. So there's our 2 beats. If you find that difficult, if you just visualise that, we've got a whole beat which is divided in quarters. A half a beat fills in that much value, and then half of that half, because of the dot after it, gives us another quarter, and then you can see we've got a quarter of a beat here, which finally gives us our whole beat. But also you know that we have to beam in units of a beat when we've got mixtures of quavers and semiquavers, and so we know there's 1 beat there, 1 beat there, just at a glance. And so the same time value pattern occurs here, so we know we've got 1 beat here, 1 beat here. Here we've got 1 beat plus half as much again, gives us 1.5, and then another half here, added up together gives us our 2. So that's the long way of doing it, but you can see straight away in those bars it tells us 2 beats per bar. Let's press on. Now this next question is no longer part of the revised exam syllabus, so we're just going to skip that. Oh dear, no, silly me, I've jumped ahead to the wrong one. Oh, that's shocking. Read the questions, Sharon. It's this question 2. I'm jumping too far ahead. Don't miss that one, otherwise you'll throw some marks away. Let's just give that a little bit of a look without rushing, shall we? We're still looking at time signatures. We're asked to add the missing bar lines to this melody. We've got 2 quarter notes or 2 crotchet beats per bar. We've got 1 beat there, 1 beat there. There's our bar line. So let's continue with the math. We've got 1 beat there, plus a half a beat again with the dot. That's 1.5. Plus a half a beat finally makes our 2, and so we'll add a bar line there. A half and a half makes 1, a half and a half makes another 1, 1, 2, there's a bar line. A half and a half makes 1, and then we've got a 1 beat rest, 1 and 1 is 2, there's our 2. There we go, that's finally completed those marks there. So now we can press on to question 2, which is the question that we can skip. There we go. We write a 2-bar rhythm to an answering rhythm to this given rhythm here is no longer part of the 2018 onwards revised exam syllabus. By all means have a go at some of these in your music theory and practice workbook. It's good revision in making sure you get the correct number of beats per bar, and also correct beaming of those beats and grouping of those beats. But for our exam purposes, the 2-bar rhythm, answering rhythm, is no longer part of the exam, and so we can just skip that and move ahead. And so let's turn the page, and if you turn to page 14, we'll have a look at question 3. And so question 3 asks us a few things, so let's just make sure we pay attention to all the details. We asked to add the correct clef and any necessary sharp or flat signs to make each of these scales named below. They remind us not to use any key signatures because the accidentals that we're going to be adding next to the notes will do that job for us. Now, of course, F major must begin and end on F, and for that to be the case, that must be treble clef. Every good boy deserves football, and face, F-A-C-E. If it is that you're not familiar with a treble clef, if that doesn't come into your practical music often because of the instrument that you play, you could always even sketch out the letter names underneath just to make it double sure. Make sure you're ascending as the scale is up the scale. You could even sketch out a piano keyboard, even if you don't piano, just to help you visualise those notes. Now we know that F major has a key signature of B flat. We're not required to write a key signature, but we do need to add the B flat as an accidental. So although we say B flat in words, we need to put the flat before the note because of course you need to know it's flattened before you play it. So let's move on to the next one. So D major of course must begin and end on D. So I'm going to just work from the back, ascending. It's just easier to count up. And for this to be a D, for it to end on a D, good boys deserve, we need that to be bass clef. And then you can see there's our top D, one step above middle C. There we go. And we can double check that. Good boys deserve football always. All cows eat grass, so we know we're in the right clef. So D major has a key signature of F sharps and C sharps. And so before the F, we'll put a sharp as an accidental, and before the C, we'll put a sharp as an accidental. And that's that job done. So moving on, we've got a little bit more work to do with note names here. We need to give the letter name of each of the notes marked with a star. They've given us the first one. So in actual fact, if you feel a little bit stuck with your treble clef, they've given us this note and you can just work out your answer from here if you're a bit stuck. It says, very helpfully, they've reminded us, oh, they haven't reminded us this time. Normally they remind you, however the trick is, don't forget, you've got a sharp sign here in your key signature. So make sure you don't forget to refer to that. We've got an F sharp, every good boy deserves football here. So whenever we see an F, it needs to be sharpened. Oh, they have reminded us, yeah, including the sharp sign. I thought they usually did. They very helpfully reminded us to add the sharp sign. So here we go. We know that the lines are every good boy. That's a B. Or if you weren't sure, you could count. That's a D. C is the space. B is the line. And then here, they've actually even given you the exact note again. So we know for sure that's a D. Every good boy deserves. That's what they've given us there. They've told us that one really. Every good. That's a G. Now the spaces spell face, F-A, that's one way of remembering it at least. F-A-C, F-A-C-E. And then here we know it goes, every good boy deserves football, but F isn't quite the full story. We need to remember we've got a key signature here, so that's an F sharp. And then here, one above F sharp is G. We've just stepped one step above and we've moved outside of the little system where the little rhyme helps us. So we just need to work that one out. And so now we're asked to give the time name. So use whichever definition of those terms you're used to, either crotchet quarter note, minim half note, or whatever is the correct answer of the shortest note in the melody. So let's look what the shortest note is. And the shortest note is going to be this one with a little tail, which is the half beat note. And that's either a quaver, if you use the classical terminology, or if you use the pop terminology, we would call that an eighth note. There we go. And that's that question completed. And we'll look at the next questions in the next video. I do hope that it's helpful to you. If you can give me a like, that'd be really fab, and subscribe to my channel to keep updated. I hope that you're enjoying working through it. I certainly am. Please do go to sharonbill.com and make use of all of the resource that's available to help you there. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.